Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition, to another installment of Hashtag Fade to Black. I am your host, Donnell Monte Morris. As you can see, that I am just me. Um, Hopefully, my panelists will be coming in soon, but like they say, the show must go on. So we're going to continue the conversation of the Black agenda. Unfortunately, we didn't do a show on Monday. Lots of things happened. And so we're here on this Wednesday. But before we get started, if y'all are familiar with the show, we can't do this without having an opening statement. So let's get it. My opening statement goes a little something like this. For everybody who voted, I don't care if you voted for the current administration. I don't care if you vote for Biden. I don't even care if you voted for a different party. I don't even care if you voted yourself. Pencil in your own name and vote for yourself, or you pencil in maybe something like this. Just know that you did your due diligence. You did your civil duty. But let me tell you this too as well. Don't fall for the okie doke of just because you voted that it's supposed to solve all your problems. It's supposed to miraculously make all your problems go away. Don't walk away from voting with that mindset. Voting is only saying that, hey, there's an issue. I don't believe this person is capable for the job. I believe this person is capable for the job. That it can solve my issues in this world. And ladies and gentlemen, I am not alone. But don't leave the voting booth as all your problems are being solved. It's only a step forward to getting your problem solved. So if you have anybody that's leaving the voting polls just thinking that, oh, my problems are solved, they're going with the wrong frame of mind. Or they're thinking, oh, my vote don't count. Stay away from them, folks. Stay away from them. Just know that you did your part in making this country a better place. And I'm happy. Oh, they all here for the opening statement. So, Mr. B. Johnson, take it away.
Good evening. Usually I'm in a pleasant mood, kind of perturbed right now, but I'm still joyful overall. That's because petty people do petty things with little to no gain. Had a supervisor at my former job who thought it would be comical to withhold my final paycheck because he had professional issues with me. He decided to make those personal issues just straight personal. Thank God I found about it when I did, so I didn't have to confront him, or else I'd be doing this podcast from a prison cell. So thank God for that. But I just want him and others like him to know, no amount of ass kissing, no amount of sucking up, no amount of unmitigated, unabashed coonery will ever get you the respect that you need. Okay? Some people are just assholes. Some people are just dicks. Some people are just pussies. This supervisor, he's a pussy. And I mince no words when I make that statement. He's a fucking pussy. But you trying to hold my money did nothing, because my new job is permanent. My new job has a raise. and extra benefits. And that check you thought you were holding from me, I still got it. So when people in your life try to fuck you over, always remember, when you go about things the right way, the outcome will always be in your favor, no matter what. Just stay positive, stay calm, and stay progressive, meaning moving forward. All those petty ass little pussies that was in your past, they'll stay there in your past. So I'm just had to get that off my chest. Hope we have a great show, and I'll leave that as my opening statement.
We can't hear you.
All right, can we? Hopefully, you can hear me now. Okay, Beast, tell us how you really feel. Okay, I was a little bit late coming to the show, and just for my opening statement, I'm just, man, we have a lot to learn. I'm glad to hear Donnell when he said, if you voted or if you didn't vote, whatever, don't have the mindset now that you have discharged your duty. You may have discharged your civic duty to the United States of America, but what is the duty that you have to the African American people? And that duty is, we have to find a way to improve the quality of our life. And the more I get involved in this, the more I am really concluding that the phrase restorative justice can only become real when a comprehensive reparations settlement is achieved that includes not just money, but some level of autonomy for our people. We have to pursue this collectively. And that means there's a lot we're going to have to learn. And our language, our concepts, our demands are going to need to change. And that's the work that we need to do starting yesterday. And that's my opening statement.
Hey, sorry, Steve, we had to keep you up on there for a little bit too long. I was trying to get to a story real quick.
Oops.
But first off, big shout out to our boy, Mr. Jones. He actually reached out to me yesterday. He got stores all over the place now. I wish I had the exact cities, but he's expanding. And this whole show is presented by RealCheddarBoyPopcorn.com. Once again, RealCheddarBoyPopcorn.com. And once again, congratulations, Mr. Jones, on your show openings.
Yes.
Congratulations. Now, the story that I was looking up was the recent shooting that happened in Philadelphia. And we're still talking about the Black agenda. So let's talk about justice. What does that look like when we have people like us running the show? Because it goes back to what Superway said many shows ago, where he said, 1 week is my cousin, next week is somebody else's family. Then next week could be, knock on wood, could be my family. Then the next week after that could be Beast's family. So let's go ahead, let's start from scratch. Let's forget what we know about the justice system today, right now. We are basically on flat land. What is the first thing either, like I said, the floor could be open, that we should start at? What should be our first law or policy?
Training the people to protect themselves.
Yeah.
We're so focused on defending our lands from interlopers and outside forces, but we're never prepared to deal with the insurgency of a domestic threat. So I feel like the first thing we should really do is make sure people understand their rights, as well as are trained proficiently to protect themselves, whether it be from a outsider invading the country, like on some Red Dawn, Pearl Harbor tip, or you have your homegrown domestic threats that pop up. But we as the people should be prepared at all times, because you never truly know when it's going to happen or where it's going to happen from. So I'd rather be prepared to deal with my neighbor who might act stupid, as opposed to somebody in another country. I feel like the first thing we should do. How about you, C-Boy?
Well, I'm looking at it a little differently. I'm trying to visualize what it would look like if there were justice and there were no more need for reparations, because we have everything we need to live our lives of dignity. So when I look at that, and I don't know the details, what prompted the police call in Philadelphia, I don't know those details.
Was that the video of the young man that was shot in the middle of the streets in front of his mother?
Yes.
That was a mental issue. That was a mental health issue.
So, and I do recall some of those details now, right? Apparently, and correct me if I'm wrong, he had a knife. The mom was trying to intervene. Now, in the world that I'm envisioning, we're not afraid of being caught up in the prison industrial complex, because there is no prison industrial complex in our community. In our community, instead of the police being called and coming in with a hostile and an approach which is us versus them, what happens in our community is that family member is able to make a phone call to a trusted and known element within the community that would take the responsibility, right, of getting other known and trusted, responsible, probably most likely men, but perhaps women too, who would come as a team, right, to diffuse that situation. And because there's no fear of I might be shot, I might end up trapped in the prison industrial complex, that team that responds, their job primarily, first and foremost, is to just de-escalate the situation. Okay? And their motivation is somebody in our community is suffering. First and foremost, the brother with the mental health problem right now. So our first response is we're trying to let the brother know, hey, you're in a safe environment. Nobody's trying to hurt you. We don't even have weapons on us because we're not here to hurt you, right? And so it's more like a hostage negotiation type thing done by loving family members in a case like this, because as far as I know, he wasn't in the midst of committing any crime or anything like that.
He was just having a mental break.
Yeah, and that's the crazy thing about it. But go ahead, I ain't meant to interrupt.
Yeah, well, so I'm just thinking out loud here, and I'm trying to imagine, if that were me and I saw, a couple of my uncles who I know with a couple of, we'll call them the Beast Johnson enforcers who I know that, I know them. I see them every day, but I know that when some shit goes down, right? You know, these are the people who very calmly but very firmly, right, are handling these situations in the interest of making sure our village is good. So when the Beast Johnson enforcer type shows up, right, I'm not feeling threatened or like he's my enemy, right? Because I know he's someone who is consistently helping the community. He lives in the community, right? I hang out with, you know, we go to the same ceremonial functions and all of those things. So visualizing, you know, what it looks like, I think helps us. I think what Beast was saying is, what is our emergency reactionary first step that we need to do to react to or respond to the reality of today? Whereas I'm looking at the end result, the goal, the vision. When we achieve it, what does that look like? And then having that clearly in my mind, working backwards to say, well, here are the things we need to do to produce that situation. Okay. And what we need for that situation is, again, something like tribal autonomy, like Native Americans have, where police force doesn't have any authority or jurisdiction to come into our community to do jack shit.
Okay. So, which lead me to the police. Like, we already hear about defunding police and how that got America split, because you got a lot of people that support the police and said that when they hear defunding, they think, oh, you try to get rid of the police officers, they got families too. But then you got the other side saying that, right. And then the other side is saying, we're not saying defunding per se. We're just saying you should be, that billions of dollars that they get almost every year should be dispersed amongst education and all other stuff for the community. So with that being said, with this ideas that y'all are saying, should we abolish the police in our communities?
We should. The current governmental structure of the police, I won't say flat out abolish them, but we should definitely do like C-Way say, and get like the reservations. Like, look, y'all can't come in here without first and foremost announcing yourself. If we see you on the block, we already know, like I said, you done came and talked to the enforcers first and foremost. You done went to the outpost, you know, made your presence known and made your case known. So if we see you in our neighborhoods, we already know that there's a situation that does actually require your assistance, and you are there merely to assist. You're not there to step forward. You're not there to take over. You're there to assist.
I take a step.
We don't move. You don't move.
Yeah, I take a step further. Taking away some of their power and authority when they come into communities that are heavily guarded by, I'll
take it a step further from there. When they talk about defunding, no, we're not going to defund, but we're going to reroute and limit the access. Meaning, for that particular incident with mental health, you will have to go through a stringent, strict protocol and program of being educated in ways to handle mental illness. Like, I work in the mental health industry in group homes. When there's a situation that arises, we are trained implicitly how to handle it, no matter if the individual is perturbed or extremely violent. We are trained how to talk to that individual, how to approach them, how to remind them that I understand what you're going through. I may not understand the extent of it, but I understand your frustration. I understand your emotional confusion. Acting in that manner will not help you, but I'm here to help you. As long as you allow me to help you, we can do this peacefully. If you want to act up, I can act up right along with you, but I'm not here to hurt you. But I am going to make sure that A, you don't hurt yourself. B, you don't hurt others. And C, most importantly, you don't hurt me.
Right.
Now, once they have shown that they have passed it, not passed it, that you are competent and proficient in these practices, then that type of access to money, whether it be more for military or for whatever extra things that your particular department wants, then you can get that. But you need to be certified and you need to be educated on alternative means of negotiation, on alternative means of incarceration. If you actually have to handcuff an individual, especially if they're having a mental breakdown, you do not want to respond with that with violence, because that's only going to escalate the situation even worse, and you're going to have to kill them because they don't have the right mind to see that I know this is a cop. I know that they could do this. They're just saying, I'm mad. I don't understand what's going on. And literally everybody in front of me will get it. So your best thing to do is to stay out of my vision. You have individuals like this. That video was a prime example. He was so gone in his mental break that there were several moments when not just his mother, but also neighbors and friends in the neighborhood just around were putting their own lives at risk being shot by the cops because they were trying to jump in the middle of it and inform the cops he's not right in the head. Before y'all shoot him, let us try. We're trying to get in between you and him so he can't touch y'all and y'all aren't forced. But one video I did see, you saw the cops at several times train their guns onto the bystanders and threaten to shoot them while they were trying to help them with their job. That type of activity is uncalled for. If you and Seaway get into a fight, and I'm in the middle of, I'm jumping in the middle of both of y'all, trying to sort it out, trying to keep everybody calm, and the police come in, or if I'm the cops and I see one of y'all trying to break it up, why would I train my gun on you and I see that you're trying to help with the situation? You're putting yourself in harm's way to help, and you're not getting paid for it. What the fuck I look like pointing a gun at you?
Right.
You actually doing me a favor. You're helping making my job easier.
Right. Because
that's less paperwork I have to do. I can easily be like, hey, this is the statement that was made from Donnell. This is the statement I have from Seaway. This is what happened. This is my statement from the time I stepped into the situation. It got solved. It got resolved with little to minimal effort on my part being the police. If I have that correct mindset, but most of these cops don't. So you see what happens. They're just trained. If someone is loud or perceived aggressive, no matter the context of the situation, you have the legal right to draw your gun on them. Like I myself have had a cop pull a gun on me trying to help somebody else not get shot because the cop came into the situation and escalated it to a point it did not need to get to. And now you have family members that are emotional and they're venting and they're moving around in an erratic manner. And it's got the cop feeling paranoid. And I'm trying to assure him that, hey, you handle my man's in the handcuffs. Ain't nothing we can do for that right now. But allow me to keep them away from you. You handle him over here. Let me know what we need to do once we get down to the magistrates. But I don't need you interacting with them because you're going to shoot them.
Right. I'm going to have Seaway step on in. What you got? What's your take?
Well, your original question is, at this point, it's very difficult for me to respond to questions that are formulated in one framework when I'm operating in another framework?
Just give an answer. just give an answer.
Well,
That's it.
Well, I'm attempting to. I mean, if within that limited framework, of course, you need to defund the police, but let's see if we can see the deeper issue is what Beast just said. Why is it that the natural response or approach of the police is not what the members of that community were naturally doing, which was what? They were trying to protect this brother. Their approach was, we need to calm this brother down and protect him. But they didn't have any desire to hurt the brother, let alone take his life, and they didn't feel feared or threatened. And no amount of police training is going to be able to instill in those police officers the natural bonds of affection that the community members who knew the brother had. So until we deal with that, the whole idea of defunding the police is formulated in a framework that leaves you under the jurisdiction and control and in the environment and context that perpetuates our condition. When people say defund the police, there are people talking about, some people actually mean, yes, get rid of the police. And those people are the people closest to the self-determination framework. We want to defund the police because we want to completely get rid of them because they should have nothing to do with our community unless our first line of defense, our own community responders, like Beast was saying, they can only, the idea is these police should only be able to come into our communities if our own community protection forces request their help. It's similar to, for example, if a state requests the National Guard to become in because they realize they no longer have the capacity to deal with a situation. So unless the community as an organized, entity with a community protection force requests the assistance of the police or any other branch of the military or armed forces, unless they request that, they should have nothing to do with us. So you can count me on the totally radical extreme of the whole defunding thing, because we shouldn't. If the goal is some form of autonomy, then I'm not going to waste time with strategies that are inherently designed to keep us within their jurisdiction. It's hard for me to even accept that, to comment on it. Because if the strategy doesn't get us out from under their control and into our own autonomy, it in the long term, it doesn't liberate us.
I think I'll pull the point. I think Beast Johnson brought up, like, the police officers, they'll have that compassion before they react to the issue. That was Sequel. Okay, so I want to ask this to the both of you for the police officers, because you hear a lot about they need training. Like I'm gonna put up the comment that McCary put in earlier. He said re-educate and retrain said police officers, and I want to bring this point up. Other than the training, because I've been fighting with this too, do you think police officers, do they think that they are the jury, the executioner, and all that stuff? Do y'all believe that some of them are inherently racist, and that when they got that gun, they got the law behind them, they got that, what's that thing where they can't get charged? I forgot what it's called, impure immunity or something like that. Do you think that they
qualified immunity?
Do you think
that's what they use?
So do you think with all that backing them, that they feel that they have the power just to do whatever they want?
Yes.
I think,
yes.
I agree. I think some of them do, especially the overt white racists. But I think that the institution of the police force creates subconscious programs that produce the behavior that we see that is shooting and killing all of our people.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean, let's just be honest. Historically speaking, the police department, the United States Police Department, were slave catchers. Let's just keep it the band here. Like the main reason why most people say defund it is because when you look at the origination, the same thing for. It's the opposite excuse that they use for the Ku Klux Klan. Well, the Klan's not racist. It was a social order in the beginning. That's its origin. It was a social order of individuals who just happened to be racist. Well, the police department was a bunch of racists who were given and paid to go indulge in their racism. And now that it become a structured part of America, those that don't follow that, I guess that quota and that prerequisite, those who are non-white, they look at it as a sense of power. This is the closest way I can get to controlling the narrative to an extent, because the police is the greatest gang in the world. They the thickest gang. They the most loyal. I don't care what go down. Ain't nobody really gonna find out about it if it involves cops.
Yeah,
because they'll kill each other before they let the people know. So you know that. I'd rather get. Most people's thinking I'd rather be with them than against them. What's the benefits of being a cop in today's society? I get 50% off all my food everywhere I go. Automatically, I pay half of normal people. And then because I'm a cop, they're going to upsize me just so they perceive that they're in good favor with me. That's one. You're going to get hookups on any little thing here and there because people always love cops, and it's always cool to have a cop on your side. So, whatever. Oh, you need some help with your lawn? I got that, man. I know you be working hard and everything like that because you just want to make sure if you doing dirt, he going to walk past your ass. Then also the greatest thing, I get to have a gun. I get to yell at people. I get to be aggressive. I get to tell someone, you're going to do what I say. And it can be over something that's trivial. That's a lot of perceived power to give to a person, especially when you see other races that have equal or more power without being an officer, without having a gun, and they can still fuck somebody's lives up. I get paid to shoot people. I get paid to pull people over. I get paid pretty much to be dirty, as long as my paperwork is clean and as long as those around me don't say nothing. I could be the dirtiest cop ever. Nobody's gonna know.
Which you also led to another thing that's been bothering me a lot. Why is it that police officers that look like us are 10 times tougher on us?
Because how T say, they sleeping white. Pillow talking. You got to prove yourself. That's all that is. Oh, are you really blue or are you black? I'm really blue. Then go beat that nigga in the back of the head.
What's that movie that came out was it last year or this year?
A couple years ago with the female. It's a couple movies. It's like two movies in particular, and I know which one you're talking about.
The one with Tyrese and that one chick where she found out that the cop was corrupt.
That's one of the ones I'm talking about. And that throughout the whole movie, that is pretty much the underlying story for her. She has to choose a color, and it's not black or white. It's blue or black.
Yeah. I really wanted to get y'all view on it because I've been kind of fighting this. Like, damn, because I know it came up as a conversation on this show where we're harder on ourselves than any damn thing. and when we get a position of power, it's like it's 10 times worse. And then the same breath when they get checked on it, they're like, well, we need to get right, and I'm trying to help us to get right. So I've been fighting with it. I just want to get y'all take on it.
I think part of it is you got to understand, right? We have a psychosis that is the result of terror and trauma. From the beginning of our history, we have been terrorized and traumatized. Okay? What that means is, right? What that means is it has affected how the limbic part of our brain works. It literally, this is what neuroscience and epigenetic science is showing, that extreme threats like terror and trauma produce extreme reactions in real time, right? You secrete hormones that what? Put you in fight or flight, okay? So we already know, we have evidence that extreme situations affect us physically, and it affects how we behave. Instead of behaving normally, we go to a measure of fight or flight. The effect of severe acute terror and trauma and chronic terror and trauma means that you're placing demands on the brain, the limbic system that is forced to secrete these hormones. You're placing unnatural demands on them that cause the structure of the brain to physically change. And then it causes a change in the brain function. And then these changes become our produced behavior that eventually gets encoded in our genes. So we have a generational psychosis where not only are we responding to this trauma, even today we live in current environments of trauma. People are afraid. We're having the talk with our children. Hey, if you go out and there's a cop and you get stopped in the car, or if you're at school and there's a school shooter. So our environmental background, which we live in, is an environment that is constantly triggering, right, the genetic trauma that's encoded. We cannot be expected to respond logically, humanely, and appropriately with this psychosis and this abnormal controlled environment of threat. So therefore, some members of our community respond to this threat by, if you can't beat them, join them, or any semblance of power and authority or security that I can get is good for my own self-preservation. And so if I can get a certain level of status by joining this gang called the police force, right, which is a gang, if I join this gang and I accept my violations and I prove myself to the gang, then I have earned the right to become a bully that is protected by law. That kind of thinking is a product of the psychosis. That's the lesser of two evils in our current situation. This is how I can make money to support myself and my family and be less subject to the threat of the transformed slave patrol, which is now the police. I can join them. It's a psychosis. And that explains why
Stockholm.
Yeah, formal
Stockholm. And you are absolutely right, Seaway. I mean, if you punch somebody day in and day out, after a while, they're just going to get used to it, or they're going to expect it. If I punch Seaway, and it ain't got to be hard. If I just punch him, just on the shoulder, once a day, for like 2-3 weeks, and then 2 days into the fourth week, I stop. I guarantee you on that second, third day, he's going to look at me throughout the day, just like, is he been hitting me? Why he stopped now? Like you're expecting it. Like you got so used to it that if it doesn't happen, you feel like something's wrong.
And
like I said, we've gotten used to this. We got used to this abuse, this terror, this trauma, to the point, like you said, we either silently just adjust to it, or we say, can't beat him, join him.
Let's be honest. Abused people are not, most of them do not have the constitution to confront their abusers. Okay? Because not everybody's quote unquote the strong. And the abusers have this strength that is what is, why they have all of the other psychosis, the insecurity. Let's say you're a little guy, okay? And your abuser is this big, big monstrous guy. So it's a David and Goliath type situation. So most people who are the little David aren't going to confront head on the Goliath like that. They're going to find ways to duck and dive and tolerate the abuse.
I take it a step further. I'm not trying to interrupt you, Secret Way, but with that, I like how you used the David Goliath analogy. But I think it's more of us being the Goliath and David's finding a way to outsmart us. Because if you think about all the slaves, Mandingo, all the big slave, muscular slaves, I'm sitting there watching old slave movies. I'm sitting there and looking at old books, and you see these slaves, he's stocked and built and all that stuff. And you got these. I mean,
that goes to the mind games.
Yeah.
When you go back to the Bible and Samson. Samson was the strongest brother in the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
But how did they get him? But how did he get his haircut? A woman. No matter how big or strong a man is or a warrior is, he has some kind of Achilles heel.
You unconsciously made my point for me, because you had to go back to our condition in our natural tribal state to identify and visualize us as that strong force. This is exactly what I'm saying. We have been made into another kind of being that is what I call we are the product of the dehumanization process. It's a manufacturing process. In the same way that you make Cheddar Boy popcorn, plug, right? Cheddar Boy popcorn, right, is a manufacturing process. It produces a product. So the people that enslaved us took the natural raw resource of a natural human being and put them through a dehumanizing process that affected our genes, and the genes are what control our behavior, to produce a new product that they call in law a chattel slave, which is no longer a human being. It's a piece of property, but it's a living piece of property that is designed to what? Be obedient to the slave master in order that you will serve through your labor the slave master, the manufacturer's benefit. Okay, so after 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 generations now, like I know in my family, right? My sister, my grandniece and nephew, they are the 10th generation of my family in America. Okay, so that slave manufacturing process, every generation has been refined. In the beginning, they had to use crude methods like shackles and chains and whips. In the same way that the natural elephant that was brought to the circus had to be shackled to the tree. Every generation, they have refined the process and perfected it so that today we don't need the chains and shackles in the same way that the elephant, right, only had the little string around his foot. And he's so used to the abuse, like B was saying, that it never even occurs to him to walk away, even though he could. because the chains are now in our, not only in our mental, but literally the chains are around our genetic blueprint. And so this is why switching from the paradigm of civil rights, where we conceptualize all of our solutions based with remaining within the circus, remaining within the slave captivity, remaining within the plantation. Calls like defund the police are a formulation that still accepts that paradigm. It's very, very difficult for our people to shift to the paradigm where we are no longer under their authority and control. And back to what you were saying, it's not that they're bigger than us physically, but they have been able to produce military might as opposed to muscular might. They have the military might, right, that allows them to bully us. And we're too afraid to go punch the bully in the fucking nose because we're scared. We're terrorized, traumatized. And, you know, my son watches these anime. And I love these things because the lesson in this anime is these small group of characters, right? They like,
well, fuck you up.
The big bad bully. It
Yeah,
has
it's true.
superior powers, but somehow this small group of innocent, noble, honorable, and virtuous people get in their minds that they can come up with a plan to defeat the superior enemy. And then they dedicate their whole lives to doing that.
No, take it a step further. So you got to take it a step further. So you threw in anime. You got me hyped when you said that. Let's take it a step further with this analogy. You have children. The vast majority of anime, the main characters, the main protagonists are children. So we're talking that youngest 8 to about 21. From the age of 8 to 21, these individuals will take on grown-ass men, 45 years old, been killing niggas for the last 30 years. Got bodies on top of bodies on top of bodies. And you mean to tell me this 45-year-old man got his ass beat by this little 10-year-old? And might have took him 5 episodes, but he hit his ass. Like for the first 2 episodes, he was just beating the dog mess out of. But like you said, they found a way. He went back. He talked to his inner demon. He went and hollered at his ancestors, the spirits above. Like he had the folk from, in the case of Dragon Ball, you got the spirit bomb. We're saying, I need energy. Seafway, give me your energy. Donnell, shoot me some energy.
Yep.
Help me put some energy in this fist so I can knock this nigga the fuck out. That's what anime is, and I love it.
Because
that's what we need to be putting on here.
Yeah, because Goku's
which one?
son.
Which one?
All of them.
The oldest or the youngest? Because the oldest was a bad boy.
Yeah, I give
Do rag game on fleek.
Yeah, him and then the bald-headed one. That
Krillin.
dude right there. Yeah, I like him for some reason.
Because he's the realest. Because he's the realest dude out there, and he's the strongest human in that whole series.
Yeah.
A little guy, ain't no bigger than 5'1", 5'2", got 6 little pointed dots on his forehead, and he is the strongest human, period.
And he
like out of all the humans in the world, he over here linked up with half aliens that could turn into monstrous goddamn monkeys. He over here hanging with a dude that's all green with antennas that be shooting lightning out of his fingertips, just pointing at you. And he can hold his own against all of them.
Mm-hmm. And see, I like the green one too. I like the green one too because at one time he used to be enemies with him. Yeah. He's black.
Everybody, he black. We all know. Piccolo black.
Yeah. Because he
had beef with niggas. Mm-hmm. I got beef. We shot the one. You beat my ass respectfully. I tried for the rematch. I took another L. So all right, fuck it. I'm gonna be your homeboy now. And then when Goku died, I respect this nigga. I'm gonna raise your son. Come here, little nigga. I'm gonna get you right. That's what your daddy would have wanted. Oh, your daddy back? Go on back to your daddy. Show him what I taught you.
That's pretty much true. Cause my brother, he loves anime, and I've been trying to catch up with it for a little bit because now everybody here in this damn barracks, that's all they watch and talk about and play the game. I'm like, damn, I'm slipping.
like I explained. it goes back to what I said earlier about animation in general. You can bring forth the truth of the world and the unhidden knowledge that needs to be put out there. You can present it 100% unfiltered, long as it's animated.
Mhm.
A lot of these animes, they dwell within history. They pull up certain pieces, and they might take the antagonist would be a representation of Hitler, for example. But against the protagonist, there's more Gandhi.
Mhm.
And they will mix up historical items and historical events to show you what happened in history and show what will happen if it continues to go forward. Like this stuff happened in the 1500s, but they said it 200-300 years from now, showing you that this history will repeat itself if we don't fix it. And it's only going to get worse down the line.
Now add to that, right? Late 1960s, the Federal Bureau of Investigations and J. Edgar Hoover said
Fuck that
that
cross-dress.
the number one threat to America is the rise of Black nationalism. And the entire COINTEL program, a psychological operation that was waged against us. This psychological operation has as its main goal to neutralize, discredit, and eliminate anybody that could effectively communicate a Black nationalist ideology and could then, first you got to be able to conceptualize it, then you've got to be able to articulate it, and then you've got to be able to mobilize people with the ideology. So like Beast was saying, not just 500 years ago, 60 years ago, they said in 2020, we have to make sure that nobody is seriously working to establish Black nationalism. So what we got to do now is we got to nip that in the bud now. We're going to murder and assassinate the top people doing that right now. Malcolm X, Fred Hampton, right? We're going to round up and put in prisons people like Mumia Abu-Jamal, Geronimo Pratt, right? The enforcers, right? The big, muscular, scary guys, we're going to put them, and they became political prisoners in solitary confinements for 20, 30, 40 years. They're just now letting them come out now that they're in their 60s and 70s and they're in their last couple of years left, right? So again, if you as a Black person today are not focusing on Black nationalism, then you are the unwitting agent of the COINTEL program. You're doing exactly what they want. They want you to focus all your political energies on remaining within this system. And they have programmed you to do that, and you don't even know it, which is why when you do have someone talking about defund the police in a Black nationalist context that is situated in an international framework of self-determination, you have people without even studying the thing start criticizing it as a knee-jerk reaction because it's a pathology. That's why we're in this situation now.
I'm happy that you brought that up because actually, before we close out this part of the segment, y'all really helped me out because I've been, after seeing this, I've been like really struggling. Also, what happened with your cousin Sipa, where I've been talking like, do we really need the police? Do we? It's like one of those questions. I'm like, do we really need it? Because I was on the show and I did mention, I said it should be a committee or a group of people, the enforcers, that should be the ones that should be handling all community business amongst themselves. If the police come up in there somewhere or another, they should be the ones coming out with their guns, sitting there saying, is there a problem? Or at least go to our leader or leaders and say, hey, what's going on? Or vice versa. If one of our own out of our community gets caught up somewhere else, we should be able to go in that town or that city or that county, whatever, and be like, hey, bring Morris out. He belongs to us.
Mm-hmm. And that goes back to the point I made when Sequay was talking about leaving and like going back to Africa. That's part like no matter what we do, we need to establish some kind of embassy-like diplomacy.
Yeah.
First situation, like we're gonna have our own communities, then everybody in that community is an automatic ambassador and emissary for that community, stating that, like I say, if something happened with you or something happened with you, as an emissary myself, as an ambassador myself, I can come to your city. I can go walk right up to where you at. Donnell in that room? Excuse me. Who are you? Don't worry about who I am. I'm here to see him.
Yeah.
I need to see Sequay Balaka, please. Are you his lawyer? No, I'm his ambassador, and I'm part of the embassy. I'm part of the embassy that he belongs to. So you need to let me see him right now.
Right.
Why? In fact, why am I even talking to you?
Right. It should be the chief should be like, hey, don't y'all talk to this man? Give him what he wants. You can easily just go.
It need to be like SVU. It need to be like SVU. Like we need to have it to the point where we literally just like ambassador. Damn it. What? He said ambassador. What's that mean? Same thing as lawyer. You can't talk to him no more.
Or
make the call.
You just walk on up in there. Let me speak to your chief. Fuck. Chief. And they already know who you is. Mm-hmm. Like, all right.
Look at how the situation was before we found ourselves in this American context. Okay. When we lived in our natural villages, everybody in the village was family. Okay. Or extended family or people that came. So what would happen is let's take the situation with my cousin Jacob. Okay. In that kind of circumstance, what would happen is, right, Jacob and the woman and the other woman that was in the house, right? What would happen is, right, we'd call for the uncles in our family. Yo, uncles, hey, is a situation going down, right? We need y'all to come here and handle this situation. Okay. So we would first call on the responsible people within our family. Now, if those family members, right, couldn't handle the situation, what would they do? Hey, yo, man, go over there and go notify Chief so-and-so, because the Chief so-and-so is responsible for all the families in the village. Right. So if the family couldn't handle it, the family would send a representative to say, hey, let's go get the village family to come intervene. OK, because you had neighboring tribes that wasn't part of our shit. And we don't want no neighboring tribes coming in to handle we handle our stuff internally. So in the situation with Jacob, right, we don't live in a situation where families really live in the same territory together anymore. Right. My sister lived all the way out in California. Right. My father lived out in Chicago. I live here in Springfield, Missouri. You know, the 41 male descendants of my ancestor, Yancey, we live in 32 different places. So we were put into a context, and it has evolved where our families really don't live in the same territory together. So that structure has been completely destroyed, and we live under a different structure. But that's what it would look like. That's what it was before. And in a situation where we were repaired, let's say you did get your 40 acres in a mule. Okay. Morris, imagine you had two living ancestors at the moment of emancipation. They each got their 40 acres. So now your family has 80 acres. And let's say on that 80 acres, right, not only did you get your 40 acres in a mule, and you got all of the things that you needed to be able to develop that land and feed yourself. Now, would your family under that circumstance have the need to really leave and go anywhere else if they were being fed and loved and had enough space and had everything they need? That would be recreating the village life. So chances are today, you'd still be living in a territory that is mostly occupied by your family. Okay. So
Mhm.
these are the kinds of things that have to go into an agenda for Black America, these kinds of visions to say what we're asking for, right, is the debt owed to us that would allow us to reverse engineer the process. And we'll know when it's finished when our family members are able to live amongst themselves and live a high quality of life and be able to provide all their food and all of those things, right? So that we could live like that. This is the situation that we're in. Why we even have a thing like the police is because we don't have a strong family unit that's really a village, because that's what happens. You have X number of family members who all live together. People marry into the family to have children. You have this village. And then older, wiser people in that kind of situation are related to everyone, and they're concerned with the welfare of everyone. So when they handle a situation like with Jamaica, where he's having a domestic dispute, he's not approaching them as criminals. And by law, somebody in a domestic dispute has to what? Be taken away. So by law in most
Mhm.
states.
Actually, by law, both of them are taken away now.
Okay.
They don't know that he say, she say. Both of y'all in it, both of y'all go down.
We have to reimagine comprehensively how we're existing if we're going to solve this problem. Retraining police is never going to be a substitute for having the responsible, wise people in a family village type setting, right, handle domestic disputes.
Oh my gosh, Sleepaway. I'm gonna have to jump in and be and just say this. Amen. Oh my gosh, that right there. That sounds so good. You should say it again, but I'm not gonna let you say it again. God damn it.
That's why it's being recorded.
Damn.
Yes.
That
Just scroll back 10 seconds.
Yeah, just
that's all you gotta do.
Scroll back, because oh my gosh, that no lie, that's been in my mind majority of the whole fucking time when it comes to talk about police. Now I know it could be some police officers, like my boy Water. He used to be a police officer, but it's not even the facts. It's the facts. The truth is the truth. Truth never changes.
Exactly.
That right there was the most realest shit about the police I have heard in a while, and I always thought it was me.
And it's not gonna happen overnight. Just because we can visualize it and I can articulate it, again, if the vast majority of our people are still suffering from the dehumanization psychosis, there's gonna be a lack of older, wiser, capable people within our families to serve in that function. Because let's keep it real, we have a lot of dysfunctional families. Okay.
Oh yeah, you got those ones that just don't give a damn. Right. So it's gonna be a reverse engineering process, but if we're not clear on what the end result looks like, we're never gonna make the choices that get us there. Right. And then I'm going ahead and close the segment by having this closing point of this. If this continues to happen, eventually that breaking point, that was that the straw that breaks the camel's back, where people ain't just gonna be protesting just to protest. You're gonna have people be like, you know what, honey, get my gun. Yes.
No, we're there right now. We're waiting for we ain't unilaterally there.
Right.
Like, see, it's not a universal thing, but the good majority, there's a good chunk of us. I have that mentality.
Yeah.
And I express it to any and everyone's like, hey, I got many of cop friends too, and I tell them straight up, talk to your peoples. Yeah. I know basically. You ain't one of them, but make sure when shit jump, bro, you ain't got that badge on, or you in a nice secluded area. I don't need you getting caught up in it, but I do need you to warn your folk that if y'all don't get your shit together, bullets ain't got no names, bro. Right. And then also
people are gonna snap.
Yeah, I mean, if you look like me, you better pick a side. You better pick the right side. Because
all I'm gonna say is this:
the wrong side. And it's
3 hots in the cot ain't that hard. Like 3 hots in the cot, it ain't that bad.
And then also I got to think about this too. Who knows? They could be rounding them up in prisons. They could be watching this mess like, you know what? Goes back to Sleepaway, breaking that damn
they are
in your mind. And
they
like
are. So when COVID hit, they had like there was one prison in particular took over. The prisoners took over.
Yeah, because freaking prisoners outnumbered the guards by how many? So if they see protests,
2001.
I'm telling you, if I was a guard, knock on wood, in prison, and I see those prisoners sitting there watching TV, and they see these riots going on, what make you think that they're gonna have something in their mind like, you know what? I got that rap song in my head. I'm gonna start a riot. I'm gonna start a riot. That's got that going on in their heads.
Now watch this. Here's where the hope lies, because historically, right? And if you look, for example, what was it that forced the British to concede independence in established America? It was the expense in both lives and property to the British Crown. It was the expense of trying to maintain control over the American colonial settlers, right? That ultimately pushed them to calculate it's better off we grant them independence and set up trade relations that are favorable to the British Crown than it is to try to maintain control. The hope lies in this. We can actually avoid the majority amount of the bloodshed. We could actually avoid a catastrophic civil war if we could demonstrate to the United States government that collectively we were prepared to go to war. Meaning, if you could show America we no longer consent to being governed by you. How do you do that? By not voting. If you could show America we are organized and centralized, how do you do that? By having a Black United Front. If you could show America that Black United Front is supported internationally by support from other countries, particularly the African countries who would stand to benefit from our autonomy, because then we could undergo favorable trade relationships with those countries. If you could show America that it's in their interests, right, to instead of spending the $1 million that it takes to incarcerate one of us, instead of spending all of the money that it takes to militarize your domestic police force, all of the money that it takes to maintain control, you're better off negotiating with us than actually having an armed guerrilla warfare. But if we don't get to the point where we're ready to accept that, we can never make the credible demand to the United States that it's in their interest to negotiate with us. Right now, it benefits them, right, to control us.
Right.
Well, you know where that comes from, the division of good and bad. Like you got people want to do this, but they want to do it the right way. So I'm when you say that, I'm reminded of Black Dynamite. and you know that, yeah, I'm reminded. And it was when he was talking to old girl after the debate, and she just swamped it. She's like, "You just some hood. Like you just some hood dude. You ain't about nothing." He's like, "Hey," he kept it real. He was like, "Look, a helping hand is a helping hand, whether it's dirty or not." I don't know what else you want to say. Like, the truth of the matter is, all this stuff can get done. Now, when you talk about politics, I'll give an example. If I'm a politician and I'm trying to get in the office, first thing I'm going to do, street level, I'm going to go holler at the D-boys. I'm going to holler at the OGs. Why? Not just the street corner niggas. I want the brother selling Big Blow. I want the brother with all the Molly. I want Mr. Hayron. I want Bob Marley's fourth son that he ain't know nothing about. That's them the ones I want, because they got the power when it comes to those endeavors. But they also have the connections of customers and clientele. And what I have figured out and known over the years is when it comes to things like Hey Ron and that white horse, you'd be surprised how many people in high power like to powder their nose.
Mm-hmm.
And I can tell you one story in particular of a family member who used to sell, and he told me how he avoided jail because the officer that arrested him, his partner was one of his clients. And then when he got to court, the prosecutor was one of his clients, as well as the judge.
Ooh.
So when he walked in there, the prosecutor and the judge both looked at him. They had a sidebar, and then he was released.
I guess he give this notion of this a whole new meaning, I guess. Like, how you doing?
So-
how you doing, prosecutor?
No, that's what you seem like this. I see you. Do things like that, man. Like be honest, like I will go to them and tell them, hey, y'all work with me, I'm gonna work with y'all. We're gonna go old school. I ain't gonna stop y'all from selling no blow, but y'all gonna stop selling in my neighborhoods. Here's the reason why you're gonna stop selling in my neighborhoods. Because once I get y'all to stop selling in my neighborhoods, that's gonna lower the crime. That's gonna lower the crime rate. That's gonna force the police to not have any legitimate legal right to be trafficking and circling through there.
Right.
Now, once I get y'all to lower the crime rate, I'm gonna get y'all to step out. I need y'all to step out as the neighborhood enforcers. Who better than the local drug pushers and the local gang members that's already on the block, already in the streets. They know every little nook and cranny. They know where to hide. They know where to be seen. Y'all need to be the street team. I need y'all to be enforcers for the neighborhood. And once I get this crime down, I can go up here to these white people with the same information you gave me. And I'm going to personally go to every one of your customers and talk to them and let them know straight up and down, hey, this is what I'm proposing. This is what I'm doing. And you're going to help me with it. If not, you're going to have a couple drug tests to take next week. Well, I don't know though. I don't know. Well, Tuk said, what's up, man? He said he got that for you tonight though. Oh, you don't know Tuk? Well, hold on. Cause he gave me your number. Let me call this number. Yeah, this your number, right? Mm-hmm. And this your address, right? Yeah, this your daughter, right? Yeah. The one you just got there to pay for that abortion because Tuk knocked her up. Oh, yeah, I know some things. Now, if I know these things, you can assume somebody else knows them too.
Right. So
you're going to work with me. I'm going to force your hand. That's what we have to do now. All this, we can, no. I'm going to force, you're going to work with me because if you don't work with me, I hold the right and I reserve the right to tell all my colored constituents to riot, to go against the grain. And before you think you about to have the army or the police, I already got the local gangs together. Mm-hmm. In fact, if you turn to channel 4, they're having a press conference right now. Turn on TV, you see all the head gang members coming together and say, yo, we having truce in the streets, man. We all coming together for the unification of the community. And you just looking at me like, yeah, that was me. Mm-hmm. So now you see what I can do. Yeah. If I can get them to come together, I can get them to fuck you up just as easy. So let's get this paperwork going. Like that's what we have to be. We have to play not play by their rules, but we got to play the game same way as them. You want to be dirty? I could be dirty too. And I know y'all more dirtier than me. And because y'all more dirty than me, y'all are careless in hiding your dirt. Because everybody's looking at me thinking I'm dirty, I'm doing a whole bunch of stuff. When you're the one that's hooked, you're the one that's addicted to little boys, you're the one that's addicted to cocaine. Your wife does you with a 12-inch dildo. You got weird people out. If you start exposing people's lies and exposing people's darkness, they have no other choice but to get in line with you. Because no matter what they say, no matter how they feel or what they project to the public, everybody got some shit that they trying to take to the grave.
Yeah. And with that point, everybody get back to your corners. with all this good energy, vibe, and information, and help me get out my rut. We're gonna go ahead and take this commercial break. The next thing we're gonna talk about, I think it's the biggest thing, is judges and how do we deal with them. We will be right back. And we're back, ladies. Don't forget to donate to this show. The link is on the bottom. So I want to get to the judges, because every time we talk about like police and how they enforce the law and all that, and prosecutors, we keep forgetting about the judges, because I have my share of judges, either with me supporting a friend of mine that's actually on trial, to me dealing with my own trials. Like sometimes the judges just look right through you, and they treat people a lot different. Like in Virginia, the judges are, let's just say, they do look at your skin color. Like when you see somebody that's white, they're nice, they gentle, they calm, but they still keep it professional. But when it's a black person that's up there, it's like a whole different ball game. So what do we do about when these judges get appointed? How do we stop these type of judges from being appointed?
Well, I think number one, we should limit the amount of actual judicial rule that they have. Going back to what Seafoy say about, solving our own problems internally. If we have neighborhood watches, if we have neighborhood enforcement, a lot of issues that require a judge that happen internally within the community, there would be no need for a judge, because we've solved that internally. We have our own people that came in and resolved the issue. I feel like, unless it's something severe, in the cases of murder, kidnapping, grievous forms of assault, those things should be taken before a judge, because there's a lot of other factors and contexts that need to be included to know for sure. But I think the first thing, like I said, we should just extremely limit what they are allowed to judge over. Because like you said, you got a lot of these judges that I've dealt with one personally. He got mad at one person. And because he was pissed off at one person, he convicted over 330 other people to do time. And I was one of those 330. And he said the same thing every day to every person without hearing them out. You are not a candidate for probation. Lock them up. Even when the probation officer themselves was defending the individual, stating that this individual has done what they need to do, they have actually upheld and did every test pass, every check-in pass, whatever the PO needed, they did. Not a candidate for probation. Go do your 7.5 years. Because one person made you mad, now you're allowed to be petty to everyone else. Like that's beyond unfair.
Well, once again, when the way you frame the question or the issue, right, is insufficient to provide what it is that we as a community need. The judge is not the problem. The judge is just an input into the legal system. And if you don't understand what the legal system is and how it actually works, you'll never be able to solve this problem, and changing judges is irrelevant. And let me give you a concrete example, right? The judge is equivalent to the orange in the process of making orange juice, right? To make an orange juice, you have your inputs. You have your orange, your water, maybe your ice, right? The process is the blender. You hit the button and the blade spins around, and the output or the product is the orange juice. Now, the system is designed to make orange juice. You can put in a rotten orange and you're going to have rotten tasting orange juice. Or you can put in a sweet orange juice and you'll have sweet tasting orange juice. But what you have is orange juice. Okay? So changing the input of the orange or the judge doesn't change the purpose or the product of the system. And in this case, the legal system is something that was artificially created that evolved from ecclesiastical canon law to private merchant statutory law to what is called commercial there's another word, commercial law, and another kind of law. Most of us don't know anything about this, okay? Now, let me give you an example. If you go back to before the slave trade, the Iberian Peninsula, where you had the Spanish crown and the Portuguese crown, you had Christian nations like Spain and Portugal that were warring and enslaving Jews and Muslims in North Africa. And they brought these Jews and Muslims onto the Iberian Peninsula, say in Spain or Portugal. Now, at that time, right, those Jews and Muslims had autonomy under these nations. So Spain basically told the Jews, y'all can set up your own Jewish courts because y'all practice a different culture. Y'all aren't European Christians. Y'all got your own different. We're not getting involved in that, right? So when you have conflicts in your community, we don't want to be entangled with that shit. So you set up your Jewish courts and you adjudicate your own internal problems. All we want is your fucking labor. Same thing with the Muslims. So I'm using that as a historical example because today, under the international framework, what there is are pluralistic societies. And in other nations around the world where you have a nation that it consists of pluralistic minorities, it's not a homogeneous society. Other nations are practicing a model of minority rights under autonomy. And so the issue of the judges is not about the individual judges. It's, can we push the United States to recognize tribal autonomy, just like the Native Americans who have their own courts?
All right, I'm gonna kind of push back on you on the judge thing, because you got judges like I'm gonna use Beach Johnson's story, where the judge just got mad with one person and he just charged everybody else. You don't think that the judge personal preference, even if, let's say, the person getting prosecuted is correct by law, that they should be free for whatever they was prosecuted with, should that be an issue? Should be raising red flags?
What I'm saying is, I recognize that there are bad judges that do dastardly things, right? I recognize that. That's a problem. I'm not saying it's not a problem. I'm saying the solution of the problem is focusing on efforts into getting autonomous judicial systems that practice a form.
That kind of goes along with what I was saying earlier too about as far limiting the amount of judicial rights that
absolutely
American judges have.
They shouldn't have any.
Yeah,
and
I think that's why I'm getting to. That's why I'm getting that too.
Yeah, there are historical precedents and current modern precedents in international law, right, that we as a community haven't been using as our models to provide the solution. We keep limiting our solutions to a kind of psychotic thinking that they have the right to have judicial authority over us. And
That ain't
so,
psychotic. That's retarded.
thank you. So again, the problem, yeah, there are bad judges. The solution is not trying to work within the system to get rid of the bad judges, to put in another one of their judges who's the issue is they're still, let's say the brother never should be convicted and put into the prison industrial complex environment in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
So whether he gets 20 years or 1 year, he shouldn't get any. That's not justice. So the way that they are engaging our community in these problems is fundamentally fraud from the beginning because of their system of judicial authority that has nothing to do with who we are as a people. In the same way that these Iberian monarchs recognize we don't have the same culture as these. Jewish people have their own Jewish canon law. So we're going to let them adjudicate because the judicial process has to be a process that's meaningful and that people within the community accept and trust. Otherwise, it's not really a judicial process. It's what? A penal process. Justice doesn't necessarily mean penal or punishment judgments. Okay. So if people accept and trust the judicial process to bring about a fair settlement, that's how you have peace in your community. We're in a situation we don't trust that process. It's not going to bring justice and peace to our communities, and so we don't want to engage in that process whatsoever. That's not how. And because our historical memory has been destroyed, we don't know what justice in a judicial setting is supposed to look like or how it functions.
And this is going to be I'm going to end it on that, what you were saying, Superway, because that actually did answer my question. And then also B. Johnson and all that stuff. Like I said, every time we're just the three of us, something special always happens. We get down to the nitty gritty all the freaking time. So, Superway, I know you got to get ready to go. So I just want to have us make final points. Friday, are y'all able to come on?
Yes.
I won't be able to make it Friday.
Okay, all right. So I guess just me and B. Johnson gonna be holding down the fort. But I think if I could get Mr. Jones from Cheddar Popcorn to come on, so he can step in. Superway, B. Johnson's been real. Any final points before we head on out?
Yeah, I want to make one final. I'd like to make one today. Mm-hmm. I was in a webinar with Tendaye Achiume, who is the United Nations Special Reporter on contemporary forms of racism, race discrimination, xenophobia, and related intolerance. So I was in a webinar with her. Also, Isaac Bryan, who's the Director of Public Policy for the $1 Million Hoods Project at the UCLA Bunch Center for Law. And the UN reporter, when I asked her, right, why has the United Nations and the international community in general, after all of the interventions we've had, starting with the We Charge Genocide petition, the We Charge Genocide petition in 1951, and all of the interventions we've had at the United Nations and other international forums, why hasn't the international community taken action to make the United States pay reparations? And she said, I'll be very frank with you. She said, the political will is not there, and the United Nations is dependent on the United States. The subtext of what she was saying is, again, the political will is not there. And what she's saying is, if we don't force the United States into a political position, these changes, these frameworks, our right to self-determination, our economic freedom, our political, all of those things, it'll never happen until we change the political calculus. And that can only come from the very things Beast was talking about, right? You got to have organized those people, right, who can change the calculations and the dynamics on the grounds, in our communities, in our streets, right, and go up against the big bully Goliath and say, we're ready to punch you in the fucking nose.
You know
Right.
why we're ready to punch you in the fucking nose? Because as soon as we punch you in the nose, my homeboy is behind you. He gonna hit you with a chop block to the knee, old school wrestling style.
Mhm.
And once you lean back, his little brother gonna jump off his back. He gonna hit you with the unblocked elbow to the top of the head. And then my big ass is gonna come leapfrog over somebody with the splash. And we just gonna stomp you out like Minister Society.
And we have to figure out a way to make them have the political will to negotiate the things we really want.
It goes back to what I said earlier. Just taking it on a grander scale. We need to have that one sociopathically smooth individual just walk in and be like, hey, it's in your best interest to help us and work with us. Why? Because we reserve the right to just say, fuck it and fuck you. I already have the 47 million black people in my back pocket, and all I got to do is hit Black Twitter and say, time to go, TTG, and every black person in America will officially stop working. If you work for white people, you will quit that job. You will go work for the brothers. If you fuck with the brothers, you go stop working with the white man, come fuck with the brothers. All the money you thought you were going to get from us, we will use it within ourselves, as well as any other nationality that is just as fucked up as us. Now, we don't have to get your stuff. We don't have to get our food from you. If history hasn't taught you anything, we know how to grow, and black people will make anything edible. Anything. I don't even know what the fuck hog moss is, but I'll eat it.
Shit. Chitlins.
Now, I won't touch chitlins, but I will cook them up for you.
I tear up some chitlins. I ain't gonna lie. But my final point is this: I can't do it no better than both these brothers on the show. I just say this: every day I get up and I feel there's a change. There's a change coming, and I believe all the things we've been talking about on the show, either we agree with each other, we disagree with each other, we kind of see eye to eye. But I got a feeling that it's like revelation on this show when we say things and for some reason it comes to fruition. Like people are literally like getting it. People, I won't say they woken up. I believe that they realize the power that they have and accepting the reality of shit. They really don't care about me. They really don't, they will kill me without even thinking secondly of it. And the victim will be the freaking bad guy, and the bad guy is the victim. And people are literally getting it. And I believe the next time, not on the next show, but the next time when something like this happens, it's not going to be the protest that everybody's been seeing as of late.
We're going to see a video of a cop get shot or a cop get... Well, actually, I've already seen the video. I believe this was in New York of some cops getting into it with protesters, and they stomped the fuck out of them. Man, I'm talking about East Side Stump, Atlanta, A-Town, down on that ass. Yeah. Like at one point, the cop was trying to pull another one, and they was like, nope, judo chop, kick in the face. You about to catch these hands.
Yeah, Superway just left. I kept him a little too long, but I'm gonna end on this though. Bob, I'm gonna end on this because everybody that's out there supporting these protests with the police saying that they support the police and all that stuff. Police, let me give you a fair warning. There's a lot of prior military people that looks like me that are living in these towns, that are in these protests. And also some of them are prior police officers too. Let's keep it a buck. So if I were you, don't think your training is going to protect you and the law is going to protect you, because you got those that left the military on very bad terms and are willing to, let's say, release that frustration. So
Yes.
I feel a change coming. So, ladies and gentlemen, as they would say, stay tuned. And that will do it for us. We're going to be continue on Fridays. It's going to be me and Beast Charles, as you see right here, right now. I'm going to see if I can get Mr. Jones to tune into the show. I think I Monday, but I'll see who else I can get on the show. But other than that, we are out. And also, Beast, I need to talk to you offline on Thursday, if you don't mind.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know, did you check out the site?
Yeah.
Much better than the last one. Way better.
Mm-hmm.
So
I might have another podcast to bring in. I got to talk about that. So we'll talk about that
Thursday. Gotcha. Ladies and gentlemen, we are outro, and let's say it's talking about network, the Wet Network. Y'all have a good one. Catch y'all later. It's been real. Peace.
Y'all be safe.